ඕකේ ගයිස් මම ඔයාලව දෙක්කන් යන්නේ ෆ්ලොරිඩා ප්‍රාන්තයේ තියෙන NASA එකට යුනයිටඩ් ස්ටේට් ගිහින් බලමු මොකද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. මමයි මගේ යාළුවෙක් තමයි යන්නේ. යාළුවා නම් 6 සැරයක් ගිහින් තියෙනවා. මම මගේ පළවෙනි සැරේට යන්නේ. වීඩියෝ එඩිට් කරනවා නම් ගොඩක් මහන්සි වුණේ නැහැ. රෝ වීඩියෝ ටික එහෙම කලෙක්ෂන් එකක් හදලා බෑග්ග්‍රවුන්ඩ් මියුසික් එකක් දාලා තියෙනවා. පටන් ගන්නකොට වීඩියෝ එක කොටුවට පෙනෙයි. පස්සේ වයිඩ් ස්ක්‍රීන් තියෙන ඔක්කොම වීඩියෝ ටික. කාර් එක පාක් කරලා ඇතුළට යන්න යන්නේ.
තියෙනව ඩැමේජ් මේ තියෙන මොකක්ද ඔය ලොන්ච් එකක් තියෙද්දි ඔක ෆ්ලොප් එකක් වගේ මේ පැත්තේ යන්න පුළුවන් නේද බයි වහලා
මෙහෙම එක තැන්වල ඇතුළට එනවා ඊට පස්සේ එක ෂෝස් තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
ඒ කියන්නේ මෙතන බලන්න තියෙන ඉඳගෙන
කිසි දෙයක් එඩිට් කරන්න නැතුව එම් ෆුල් ෂෝ එක දාලා තියෙනවා. ඔයාලටත් බලන්න පුළුවන්.
You know, I have a lot of heroes. What was my hero? Your hero. Superman.
I remember being inspired, like most young children, by TV heroes.
I was inspired, of course, by science fiction.
I think we all have popular heroes, you know, movie stars that move us emotionally or make us feel heroic. But I think I am who I am today because of my father.
My father was a hero of mine.
Because he protects me when my brother tries to beat me up.
A hero is someone I respect, like my mom.
And a hero is my mom, and she inspired me to be a good person.
energy go off.
Elon Musk. Take it away.
My greatest hero is my grandfather.
Both of my parents are my heroes because growing up, they taught me that I can do whatever I want to do.
They push me to be a better person.
Well, everybody that plays into a person's life contributes something and is a hero in some way.
Well, to actually be a hero, I just think you've got to...
You need to be smart.
They be brave.
You're supposed to help people to be a hero. A hero means you have to be determined and really, really, really want to achieve your goals.
Você consegue ser o que você quiser na vida, desde que você estude, trabalhe, persista e sempre faça mais do que espera de você.
It takes a lot to be a hero. It takes selflessness, honesty, integrity.
Doing what you feel is right.
Sacrifice, perseverance, and accountability.
Makes it a hero is
The bravest can be.
they never give up.
Good morning, class. I think that teachers are incredibly important.
Mr. Miller, ninth grade teacher.
Leaders that inspire you everywhere.
Heroes are people like their actions inspire you to want to be like them.
You need a pioneer spirit and just be willing to push boundaries of what we can achieve as students, as people.
Being Canadians, we love Chris Hadfield.
Chuck Yeager's my hero. He's my hero because he's the first man to break the sound barrier.
Tuskegee Airmen, those are the people that sort of paved the way for me with reference to
During my age, it was the Apollo program.
Oh yeah, lots of space heroes.
Buzz Aldrin.
Neil Armstrong.
When I was 9 years old when we landed Apollo 11 on the moon. Y es un privilegio, es algo mágico realmente. Esa experiencia, la conexión que hay entre un astronauta y mucha gente.
Belief in myself started with a very small act from a man named Gene Cernan. For many years, he sent me patches from each of the Apollo space missions.
Guys like John Glenn and Gus Grissom and John Young.
Alan Shepard, Wally Sharon, John Glenn.
In my opinion, he came as an American hero, but he never acted like such.
So those are the types of people that I really admire the most. People that were out on the forefront of exploration, putting their lives on the line.
Those guys are the real heroes.
I was very impressed with their accomplishments.
I can't imagine ever doing what they do, and it's amazing.
They're all the same type of personalities. You know, they work hard, they set goals, they achieve.
You know, this guy was human being, so that's a hero.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We're not able to live on today. Specific identification on what the phone is. T-minus 40 seconds now and counting. All systems go.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting.
Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
All right, just lift off and the clock is started. Yes, sir, ready to go loud and clear. Roger, the clock is operating. We're underway.
Take off the safety count, clear.
Roger, 0G, ready to go flight. Yes, sir, turning around. Oh, that view is tremendous.
Please watch your step as you enter the next theater. Guests with wheelchairs, scooters, or those who cannot use stairs should stay to the right. Once you have stepped out of the exit each of the doors located to your left. As you enter, we kindly ask that you return the use of the
මෙතන ෂෝ එකට මගේ ඇති වීඩියෝ වෙලා නැහැ හරියට. සෝ ඒක හින්දා මම ඒක වැඩි දාන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක හිස්ටරි වගේ කතාවක් තමයි කියන්නේ. මේ විදිහට එක කාමරයකට ගියාට පස්සේ එකකින් ෂෝ එකක් බලනවා, තව එකකට යනවා. එකේ තියෙනව බලනවා, එතනින් එළියට යනවා. එහෙම තමයි හැම බිලියන් එකක් ඇතුළෙම තියෙන. හොඳයි. මෙතන මොකක්ද තියෙන්නේ?
කොමික්ස් නම්
ආ.
බලවනේ.
කොමික්ස් නේ තියෙන්නේ. ටච් ස්ක්‍රීන් ද බා? Use touch screen to active. Oh yeah. මේක වෙන්නද නේ? ඕබා?
Well, when I was maybe 10 years old or something like that, I was building model airplanes.
Model airplanes, that's my middle name.
Oh, yes, I built model airplanes all the time. Used to build
Low battery. This seems interesting. Let's go there later. Oh.
That's the patch of my squadron stingers that I was in.
මේ ඩොක්යුමන්ට් එක ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගත්තේ නේ? මේ ඔබට ඕනේ නේ.
Those were truly one of my first steps were taken to keep running. I'm proud to return a naval aviator.
අම්මෝ මම නෙමෙයි නේද?
Naval aviator for the first time they landed aircraft carrier. So flying on some of the slopes.
Mercury mission control. Friendship 7, 1962. මේක real office එක නෙමෙයි නේ? Real office එක නෙමෙයි නේ? ආ එහෙම. Let's move.
That's really not true. I think every time, every warrior has been brave, because every one of them he carries the whole extra felon out there that those individuals are
We're gonna do the rocket card and then take the bus.
stand in front of this spacesuit.
the chip.
Wait. What is now? Mehe path මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? මේ පැත්ත මොකක්ද තියෙන්නේ?
About even.
Hall of Fame. There's a song called Hall of Fame. කොහෙන්ද පටන් ගන්න මචං? 90 මේ පැත්තෙන් නේ. Neil Armstrong 1993. Oh. මේ පැත්තෙන් ගිහලා
මයි නාස එකේ ෂොප් එක අම්මට සිරි බං අඩෝ මේක මොරුවේ
මේක තමයි මේ තියෙන ලොකුම ස්ටෝර් එක
මොනවටද ලෙගෝ
නාසා
මම දීගක් විතර නෝ වැඩි ගානක් නේ 129 රුපියල් නාස ඔක්කොම නාස ගණ්ඩගේ බොඩු වනිස් බලමු මෙඩල් තියෙනවා මෙඩල් ස්ටිකර්ස් තියෙනවා මේ මලයා කෝ යාර හන්දි කෑල්ල කල්ලන්න දිනවා කියන්නේ කීයද බං
මේක 1500 මීටරොයිට් එක
ඈ මීටරොයිට් 1500 ස්පෙක්ස් සීරීස් Interesting. Maru. $9ට තියෙන මීටර ඔක්කේ. ගත්තන හොඳයි. මීටර 39ට තියෙන ලොකු කෑල්ලක්. 39. ඉන්ටරෙස්ටිං. 17යි. මීටර 95ක් තියෙනවා. 160ක් තියෙනවා. මාස අම්මට හොඳ මාස වල රොක්කේ. Serious? Intro ikan legam.
ඒක ඉවර වෙලා අපි ස්පේස් X ගේ ෂෝරූම් එකකට ආවා. බලමු මේක ඇතුලේ මොනවද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. ඔය දිගට පේන්න තියෙන රොකට් එක ෆැල්කන් 9 රොකට් එක. ඒක තමයි වේලන් මක්ස් නිතරම යවන්නේ. VR game. गेम में तेरा हम
at these guys. This is like Avatar film එක වගේ. So cool.
At the main engine, sprint 6 seconds less. After a long 6 press minute push from checkpoint, plus 1154.
Interactive deep space habitat.
We're not driving, we're flying. Or we're driving, my mom
Yeah.
has stuff in black. Like, right? Driving up there.
වතුරක් තියෙනවා මොකක්ද දන්නේ සීන් එක.
ඒක කපාලා ගන්න බෑ.
මේක පැකින් කපන්න නේද? Spinach, cookies, beef. Good consumable, good consumable. Oh, මෙහෙම තියෙන්නේ.
Well, this whole family already pretended like they don't know.
We don't know these guys. How are they?
You're sleeping quarter. Yeah. It's the food you might as well get a tiny home and get prepared for your life.
This would be your tiny home right here.
It was like super qualified people who lived in a tiny house.
Some chambers. Some flowers. This is a 3D printer. Healthcare items. Sorry. Atlas 5. What is this? Some coin. Oh, I like this one. Yep, let's try this.
මේ මැෂින් එකෙන් කරන්නේ US 781 වලට අර අච්චු හතරම ගහලා දෙනවා. මට වැරදිලා මම මේක හතරක් ගන්න පුළුවන් එකයි අර යන්නේ. It's like capsule. මේක බල්ලා ඉවර කරන්න බැරි වෙයි. Vulcan. Delta 4. This is huge. මේක ඇතුලේ ටික නම් ඉවරයි. Falcon 9 rocket එකේ engine එක. ඔයාලට පේනවා engine 9ක් මෙතන තියෙනවා. ඒක තමයි Falcon 9 කියන්නේ.
going to send all the satellite. Going for a bus tour.
මෙතනින් බස් එක නැගලා ගිහලා වෙන තැනක බහිනවා. ඇපොලෝ මිෂන් එක ගැන විස්තර දෙන තැනක. බැලලා ආපහු බස් එක එනවා මෙතෙන්ට. බස් එකේ රයිඩ් එක බ්‍රීෆ් එකක් දෙනවා. ඒකත් අහගෙන ඉන්න.
ඒ උඹ ඉඳ ගන්න හොඳ පැත්ත දන්නවද?
බස් රයිඩ් එකක් යන්න යන්නේ. People somewhere?
Since the 1960s. And what an exciting time to visit our multi-user spaceport. Through our Commercial Crew program, we are sending astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the Space Shuttle program ended in 2011. We're continuing to launch new research experiments and supplies to the space station with our commercial resupply services and launching the most technologically advanced scientific instruments to date into space through our launch services program. This all culminates in our ultimate mission, the Artemis program, where NASA will return to the moon, this time with the first woman and first person of color, and continue on to Mars. In all our history, there's been one common theme woven throughout our DNA. It's our insatiable desire to explore beyond our home planet in our never-ending quest to expand our knowledge of the universe. As you venture behind the gates, you'll find a community of the most talented, dedicated, motivated workforce anywhere in the world who believe in the unlimited potential of space exploration. This is an active spaceport where new things are happening every day. You never know what you might see, so enjoy your tour.
Now approaching the Vehicle Assembly Building, or as NASA calls it, the VAB. It is one of the largest buildings in the world by volume, and is the place where NASA completes the final assembly of its rockets before launch. The sheer scale of this building is hard to grasp, even when you're right next to it.
Do you ever feel really small when you think about space? What about when you're standing next to a skyscraper or a really big bridge? Well, I feel about as small as an ant right now. I'm standing inside the Vehicle Assembly Building trying to grasp how large it really is in here. It has 4 bays. Each bay has 2 large horizontal doors below it and 7 smaller vertically opening doors above it, tall enough to fit the world's largest rocket crew. In fact, these are the largest doors in the world.
Construction of the VAB required 65,000 cubic yards of concrete, 45,000 steel beams, 1 million steel bolts, amounting to almost 100,000 tons of steel. Notice the flag painted on the outside of the VAB? It's the size of a 21-story building. The blue section alone is the size of an NBA basketball. Each star is 6 feet across, and each red and white stripe is wide enough for this bus to drive down. And the entire VAB? It's so huge that the Roman Colosseum would fit on the roof with room to spare for a parking lot. By volume, the VAB can fit 3.5 Empire State Buildings, and it would take 250 billion ping pong balls to fill it. It was built in the 1960s for the Apollo program. Every Saturn V rocket that sent humans to the moon was assembled right here. Every space shuttle mission also assembled within these same walls. After the space shuttle program, a major renovation to the inside of this building began to accommodate NASA's next generation of rockets, the Space Launch System, or SLS. Lockheed Martin has developed a capsule called Orion that will sit atop the SLS rocket. This capsule is designed to facilitate human exploration of the moon and eventually Mars.
Take a look at the 4-story building with the slanted windows as we drive through this area. This is the Launch Control Center, where launch directors and their teams oversee every rocket that lifts off from KSC and give the final go or no-go. I'm inside the LCC with Charlie Blackwell Thompson, NASA's first female launch director. Now, Charlie, can you tell us a little bit more about what the launch director does?
Absolutely. The launch director's job during the planning phase is to ensure that you have everything in place that you need to safely and successfully launch the Artemis missions. That includes things like your requirements are set, your launch commit criteria are understood, your procedures are ready to go, and your team is trained. The folks that sit in this room on launch day, they have a tough job, and that's to determine if the flight and the ground systems are go or no go. And I depend on them to make those calls on launch day.
Yeah, makes sense. So I hear that you're going to be the launch director for the inaugural flight of SLS with Artemis 1. Can you tell us a little bit more about the mission of the Artemis program?
Well, the Artemis program, Artemis is actually named for the twin sister of Apollo. And so if you think about all that we did during the Apollo program, how amazing that was, so it seems so appropriate that as we return to the lunar surface, we return to the moon, that we go under the banner of Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo. And while there are similarities in our program, there are also differences. This time our trip to the moon will be on a brand new rocket known as the Space Launch System, or SLS.
If you take a look to the right, you'll see our crawler transporters. These are used to transport the rockets from the vehicle assembly building out to the launch pads. If you look down Launcher Road here, you'll see crawler transporter number 2. This one was recently used to transport the SLS rocket out to the launch pad. Now, when they did this, they did live stream the entire event on YouTube. Get your popcorn ready. This last trip was about 9 hours, and yes, that's a one-way trip.
Carrying the crews in the Orion spacecraft.
What is the goal or purpose of sending humans to the moon again?
Well, the moon is a treasure trove of science and discovery, and so there's so much to learn from the moon. We're still learning from what the samples we gathered during the Apollo program. The beauty of what we're doing today is that instead of going for a short trip, we're going to stay.
We're inside the VAB at level 26, 274 feet up. And I can see behind us, right over to the right, the newly added crew access arm attached to this mobile launcher. And I want everyone here to meet Cliff Lanning, the mobile launcher project manager. Cliff, can you explain the significance of adding that access arm?
Sure. The crew access arm is one of the last major modifications to the mobile launcher in preparation for SLS and Orion. It basically will be the very last place on Earth that the crew will be before they're in the spacecraft and headed to space. Now, the white room provides a contamination-free environment up next to the spacecraft, and as you suspect, it's white. It's the white room.
Makes sense. Now, how does the mobile launcher support the SLS rocket?
The mobile launcher provides fuel and power to the SLS and Orion. It's actually a stacking platform for the rocket. So the platform next to this 380-foot tower that the rocket is actually built next to, and then the umbilical arms attached to it to provide that fuel and power.
Wow. And so does the mobile launcher actually go all the way to the launch pad with the rocket?
It does. And the crawler transporter comes in, picks up the mobile launcher with the rocket, transports that entire thing out to the pad in preparation for the launch.
Wow. Oh, that is very impressive.
It is, and I hope everyone here today has a great time at Kennedy Space Center. Enjoy all the great exhibits, and come back soon.
If you take a look out the front of the bus and across the water, that is Launch Pad 39A, currently occupied by SpaceX, where they launched the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy. And if you take a look over the bleachers, you'll see 3 large lightning masts in a row. That is 39B, where we will be going to the Moon and Mars. Welcome to the Saturn V Center. There's a lot to see here. It's all about the Apollo program. You'll enter the facility through the big silver doors under the red arch. Spend as much time as you'd like. When you're ready to leave, exit through the gift shop to board another bus to go back to the visitor center. Just give me a moment to pull up to the gate and lower the bus for you.
බහැලා ඉවරලා මෙතනත් නැවතත් ෂෝ ටික තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
Through space. Every week on TV, I'd watch my heroes in their imagination, and no problem ever stood in their way for long. In the end, when we actually did send men into space, it turned out that those were exactly the qualities it took.
I'm John Hudson. This is Pad 39 of the Kennedy Space Center. I was a launch controller here when from this very spot, man took off to fly to the moon. It was a journey that began 12 years before that rocket ever left the ground. And it started on the other side of the world.
Back then, we were one of 2 superpowers that always seemed to be on the edge of a terrible war. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first ever man-made satellite into Earth orbit. They called it Sputnik, which means traveling companion. In a world where peace hung in a delicate balance, it seemed to create a dangerous advantage. Every ham radio operator in America could hear it beeping. People were afraid. Were the Soviets looking down on us? Watching us? If they could make a satellite pass over our cities, could they do the same with a bomb? Our own space program kicked into high gear, and less than 2 months later, we were ready to launch our own satellite. It was being called the space race, and we were running a distant second. In 1961, we fell even further behind. Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first man into space, circling the world in just 89 minutes. We had our own astronauts, and they were eager and ready to take the big ride. But our manned space program couldn't seem to get off the ground. We stuck with it, and on May 5th, 1961, things finally started going right. Astronaut Alan Shepard took his ship Freedom 7 6.5 miles into space. America had its first space hero. Just a few days later, our space program received a new challenge. But this one did not come from the Soviet Union. It came from our young president. In one inspiring moment, he changed the mission from one based in fear of the present to one of hope for the future.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
We hadn't been more than 16 minutes into space, and now we were going to the moon. We would have to design a rocket the size of a 36-story office building, put it together with the precision of a microscope, and accelerate it with the speed of a bullet. Then we would have to guide it to a moving target 250,000 miles away. Many people thought it was an impossible dream, but 400,000 of us set about making that dream a reality. It would be the longest, most hazardous voyage that any man had dared to attempt. But step by step, mission by mission, we orbited the Earth, perfecting the skills and technologies we would need on this incredible journey. Our astronauts practiced maneuvering, docking, and the 1,000 other tasks that would comprise the moon mission. We created new alloys, lighter and stronger than anything seen before. We designed communication systems that would be reliable over the vast distances. And behind it all, we tried to perfect the rocket that would be powerful enough to punch out of Earth orbit and take us to the moon. One day, however, the dream of flying to the moon almost slipped away. It was January 27th, 1967. Astronauts Virgil Gus Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee were on board Apollo 1 for a plugs-out test, a full-scale dress rehearsal for the actual launch. Suddenly it happened. There was a fire in the capsule. 3 men whose lives had been in our hands were lost.
Surely the opening vistas of space promise high costs and hardships, as well as high reward. But this country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them.
After Apollo 1, some thought we'd failed, and that the moon was out of our reach. But we owed it to those men to learn from their sacrifice and to carry on. We started taking the Apollo vehicle apart, piece by piece. Was the design flawed? Had safety been compromised? Tough questions. And we spent 1.5 years redesigning the spacecraft so that no astronaut's life would ever be at risk because we overlooked something, or because we could have done something better. A moon rocket is 91% high explosive, and it goes into the most unforgiving, hazardous environment there is. We could never make it risk-free, and the men who flew them knew that. We didn't send men into space again until Apollo 7 orbited the Earth testing some of the new designs. When everything worked perfectly, the decision was made. The next mission would travel to the moon. It was mankind's destiny to leave the shores of our planet behind and strike out across the vast ocean of space. In the great span of our history, now was the time that we could. Now was the time that we would. We stood on the eve of the longest, most dangerous journey that any man had ever undertaken. And it would be taken by Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Anders, the crew of Apollo 8. Through those doors, you'll find the firing room, launch control, just as it was on December 21st, 1968.
Please gather all of your belongings, take small children by the hand, and proceed through the open doors to firing room number 1. All strollers, wheelchair guests.
මේක තව ෂෝ එකක් අතනින් ඉවර වුණාට පස්සේ මේකට එන්න. ඉතින් බලන්න තියෙන්නේ. බලමු මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා.
For the comfort, safety, and viewing pleasure of
First took off to fly to the moon. The tragedy of Apollo 1 had put us a year and a half behind. We were making up for it in one big leap. And we were doing it with a rocket that no man had ever flown before. It was a few days before Christmas, 1968, when Apollo 8 sat on the pad. She was the first of a new kind, a moon rocket. This was the phoenix, risen from the ashes of Apollo 1. The first Apollo crew did not die in vain. This was to be their testament. Stories high. She had been fully fueled throughout the night. The liquid oxygen in her tanks caused ice to form on the outside of the craft. The extreme temperature differences between the air and the sub-zero fuel caused the metal skin of the rocket to expand and contract. Everyone who was on the pad agreed. It was as though the rocket was alive, breathing, straining at the leash. Earlier in the morning, astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders had made their final preparations before taking that long ride out to the waiting spacecraft. The minimum safe distance from a Saturn V at liftoff was 3 miles. The reason was simple. When fully fueled, the rocket contained the explosive power of an atomic bomb. As the clock counted down, the astronauts and all of us in launch control went through the pre-flight checks. Our hands on the controls of the most powerful, most complex machine ever built. It had over 2 million separate systems, and to bring these men back alive, everything had to work perfectly. Each individual system had been tested, but what we didn't know was how they would perform when all 2 million began to work together. That moment would come when the countdown clock reached 0. If a maneuvering thruster failed, if communications broke down, if navigation was off by 1 degree, if any piece of the miles of wiring, circuits, relays, or valves was defective, Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders would pay with their lives. As they sat, waiting for launch on that chill December morning, these 3 astronauts were back to what they had always been, test pilots. You are now in the final minutes before the launch of Apollo 8, right here where it actually happened. Mankind is about to leave his planet behind and journey to another. It is one of those rare moments when history is not being made, destiny is being embraced.
This is launch control. T-minus 3 minutes and counting. We have completed our communications checks with the Apollo 8 astronauts in the cabin, and the communications are go. During this period, once we do get the firing command, the various tanks within the 3 stages of the Saturn V launch vehicle begin to pressurize. We have firing command. The firing command is in. We are now on the automatic sequence. T-minus 2 minutes, 20 seconds, and counting. Our status board indicates that all aspects are ready. Instrument is ready, spacecraft ready. Final check of the emergency detection system. That radio light also on. First stage preparations are completed.
Okay. We're on. Ready to go to cockpit. And by order. Okay, you're on.
All systems go.
T-minus 45 seconds and counting. The first stage liquid oxygen tank has been pressurized, and the pressure is still building up. seconds. Remark, T-minus 90 seconds incoming. The Apollo 8 crew standing by, spacecraft commanding front corner, Jim Lover, Bill Andrews. We now will report that the liquid hydrogen tank on the third stage is pressurized. 1 minute 15 seconds. All third stage propellants pressurized at this time as we come up on the 60-second mark on the flight to the moon. T-minus 60 seconds incoming. The vehicle now is completely pressurized. We'll come up on power transfer shortly. We have the power transfer. We're now on the flight batteries within the launch vehicle. Final reports coming from Frank Borman at this time. Final look at the switch list board to the spacecraft. 20 seconds, all aspects. We are still low at this time.
15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Apollo 8 successfully orbited the moon. The astronauts returned safely to the Earth. I know. I'm Jim Lovell, and I was one of the crew of this spacecraft, Apollo 8. We were the first men to see the surface of the moon from just a few miles away. But it was the hundreds of thousands of men and women who worked in that team, and the millions of people who supported the mission that really made it possible. That way, I guess, we all went to the moon. Now, on the other side of those doors, you'll find an actual Saturn V moon rocket. It's still the most powerful, the most complex machine ever built. And I guess it's the only one that can take you to another planet. I actually got to fly one on a second flight to the moon called Apollo 13. But that's another story.
Please watch your step as you exit the firing room.
අතනින් එළියට આવවම තියෙන රොකට් එක. අල්ටිමේට් රෝඩ් එක.
visa. මොන ටිකද හොඳ? මේ ටික ගන්නවද? මේ ටික ගන්නවද? මේ ටික ගන්න. මේ ටික මේක හොඳයි නේ. මේවා පෙනීස් වලට එනවා. ඒක සිම්බල් හතරක්. හොඳ නැහැ පේනවත් කියලා. මේ සිම්බල් හතර තමයි එන්නේ. මේක අනිත් පැත්ත නේද? මේක සයිස් එක හිතා ගන්න පුළුවන් නේද? මේ ඉන්නේ පොල්ලෙක් මෙන්න යන්ත්‍රයේ සයිස් එක. හම්බොඩෙන් නම්බාණ්ඩම තනත් මහා දොරකට්ට ඇත්තේනවා බලන්න ඕනා මේක මොකක්ද Apollo 17 It's a hologram.
Every Apollo flight,
Look at me. This is a moon rock was collected by astronaut Jacques near Apollo 17. You can touch it. ලංකාවේ කඩු ගෑ ගල වගේ තමයි. සිනිදුයි. අත ගාලම වෙන්නේ නැති. Make it read. රිෆ්ලෙක්ෂන් එකක් යනවා කොයිද? Ding, ding. 15, Apollo 14, 13. There's a cafe. Apollo 10, 11, 13, 12, 11, what else? Other stuff. 10, 9, 7 probably, yes. Make that moon space. Moon Rock Cafe. Toilet එක හඳේ. Luna Theatre. I don't know මොනවා හරි ඇති. යම් බලන්න මේ පැත්තට. මෙතන තියටර් එකට යන්න නැතුව මේ පැත්තට යනවා. මොකක්ද දන්න මේ බස් එක? ඇස්ට්‍රෝ වෑන්. මෙතන මොකක්ද තියෙන්නේ බා? Rough road leads to steps. That's totally something else. This is so cool. This is holographic. Oh. We are all on board in this spirit. show in 1 minute and blah. මොකක්ද මේකද? බලමු. Go inside and see. What? Photography back? No flash photography.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch your step and use handrails while on the stairs. As a courtesy to others, we ask that there be no smoking or flash photography during the presentation.
Right, we're standing by for Eagle. Okay, copy out. Flight controllers, we're off to a good start. Let's go. AOS left. Roger, AOS left. Bye-bye, Eagle, we're standing by for your burner report, over.
As soon as the Eagle reappears, things begin to go wrong. Radio communications break down. Messages to Eagle must be relayed through Mike Collins aboard the command module Columbia. Throughout the crucial final checks, contact with the Eagle keeps dropping out. And Flight Director Gene Kranz inches closer to aborting the mission.
Hey, we got data back. Radar flight looks good.
With the vital computer links temporarily holding, the moment of decision is now.
Okay, all flight controllers, go for landing. Retro. Go, Rhino, go. Guys, go. Control, go. Telcom, go. ENC, go. Econ, go. Surgeon, go. Capcom, we're go for landing. Eagle, Houston, you're go for landing, over. Go for landing.
Hurtling toward the moon at 3,800 miles per hour, Neil Armstrong notices his checkpoints are all appearing too soon. This means a serious navigation error.
He thinks you're a little long downrange.
At these speeds, 3 seconds long means missing the safe landing zone by 3 miles.
We got data dropout. Still looking good.
Suddenly, the computer starts firing the maneuvering thrusters, jolting the ship back and forth. This has happened in simulations, but never this much, never this violent. The smooth descent is becoming a bumpy ride. Before that is fixed, a problem with the onboard computer.
1202 alarm.
The astronauts have rehearsed for thousands of possible malfunctions, but not this one. It had been considered too unlikely. Seconds seem like hours as everyone struggles to remember the meaning of a 1202 program alarm. The deadline to safely aboard is vanishing fast. 1202 means the Eagle's onboard computer is overloading. This means Houston is blind, unable to make navigation corrections or interpret the data coming from Eagle's computer. Armstrong and Aldrin are on their own. Mission Control decides they can go ahead if the data link doesn't fail again. 1,000 feet, and Neil Armstrong can see that the computer is proposing to put them down in a dangerous place. That landing site is full of boulders. If they land there, they will never take off again. At 350 feet, Armstrong ignores his computer navigation and veers away from the rocky landing site with no time to explain to Mission Control.
Okay, all flight controllers inside.
In Mission Control, everybody is stunned. At 300 feet, the Eagle has left its flight plan and taken off at full speed across the face of the moon.
Eagle Houston is descent to fuel to monitor, over.
90 seconds of fuel remaining. Now less than 200 feet, and the Eagle is too low to safely abort back into orbit. They call this part of the flight plan Dead Man's Curve. All that's left for mission control is to read off the fuel remaining in seconds.
60 seconds.
The entire moon landing has come down to 2 men and 1 minute.
Forward. Quick speed down 2.5. And half a second. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Light time. Down 2.5. Forward. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Make it down. Forward. Forward. To the right. 2.5. Contact light. Okay, this time. Tranquility base here. The Eagle has landed. Rocket Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
A short time later, history is made again.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
For one incredible moment, we are one people with one history, watching our destiny unfold.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Armstrong is on the moon, near 38-year-old American It was a moment shared by an entire world. With these first steps, mankind stood on the highest ground, and we saw our planet as our home port in the endless ocean of space.
There was something which was surprising to me. That occurred as I was standing on the surface. Just after we had landed, I'd gone down, standing on the surface and looking at planet Earth for the first time, seeing the beauty, seeing the finiteness of it, the limits of it, realizing what a shame it was that people were confronting each other on that planet without realizing what it was doing to the planet. It was a very emotional moment for me. I actually shed a couple of tears. Something totally unexpected for an engineer fighter pilot to be crying quietly up there on the moon.
Mankind had achieved a tenuous foothold in the heavens, and a new and exciting world lay waiting to be explored. The first mission had stayed for only 1 day, but over the next 3.5 years, 5 more Apollo missions visited the moon, and with each one, we stayed longer, roamed further, and discovered more.
I never thought when I was a kid building rockets, in high school, that we would go to the moon, before the end of the century. I mean, I thought that was something that was way in the future, fantasy.
We've got to understand that as a people, we need to stretch. We need to reach beyond our grasp. We need to strive to do things that seem impossible, because in the accomplishment of them, we move society forward.
One of the astronauts has said those hills that we climbed give our children and grandchildren a different perspective, that they see the mountains that we couldn't see. And so what we consider impossible, they're dreaming about.
3, 2, 1. We're live.
kids, first thing I tell them is to take the word impossible out of their vocabulary. Go to their teacher tomorrow morning and scratch it out of the dictionary. The word doesn't exist. If I can stand here and tell you that I lived on the moon, that I called the moon my home for 3 days, you tell me what is impossible in this day and age, much less in a generation that follows, much less into the 21st century. Nothing is impossible.
I like exploring things, inventing. I would like to go up there and find out what's really up there.
I would like to be an astronaut. I like to design rockets.
Payload specialist.
I'd be ground controls. The thing that my mom can't understand is I'm terrified of heights, but I want to be an astronaut.
There's so many things I'd love to do. I would explore, I'd look for everything. I would try to start a farm. Millions of other galaxies that you might be able to live in.
It's the unknown. Anything's possible.
You may be able to cure certain diseases. On Mars and dance on it.
Play basketball, but you could still be short, because then you could like fly up in the air. Baseball would be awesome. Hit the ball, you get a home run every time.
There are a lot of things that could benefit mankind that we, because of science, we simply cannot do on Earth.
It's such a big universe, and it's kind of strange to think that just this one tiny planet was chosen to have life on it.
I hear they're finding new planets or moons, and find out more about how stars are working, and it makes me feel like it's trying to tell me something.
What's it trying to tell you?
That you belong up there with them.
The Apollo program ended in December of 1972, but our journey into space is just beginning. I'm Neil Armstrong. The future of space travel is being written right now in the dreams and imaginations of a new generation. Perhaps that's the greatest legacy of Apollo. It shows our children and grandchildren that with courage, imagination, and the will to explore, no dream is impossible.
Please watch your step as you exit the theater. On behalf of NASA and the Kennedy Space Center.
එතනින් එළියට ආවම තව තියෙනවා එක එකව බලන්න. 15, 17, 14, 12. හොඳේ එක එක ගියපු තැන් වුණා. This is the capsule. What is this? Adengena bus.
Where's she at?
එතනත් මොනවද ආටිෆැක්ට් වගේ තියෙනවා.
ඒක ගල් කැලි තියෙනවා.
කොහෙද? මේව නේ. ලුණු සාම.
From the cafe.
Kalau metan so gitu orang lagi.
I've been uploading too. On YouTube, so TikTok.
ඉන්ට්‍රස්ටිං දෙයක් නෑ වගේ බලමු ඊළඟ එකකින් මන් තියෙන කියලා. ඉතින් ආපහු ආපු තැනට යන්න යන්නේ. එතන තව රයිට්ස් වගේ තියෙනවා. ඒ ටික බලන්න යන්නේ. දැන් මේක අස්සට. යා. බලමු. ෂෝ එකක්ද මේ? නිකයි.
You're like, we're filming a line, who's here next? You're like,
I want an archer.
whoever's next.
It's okay.
අරගෙනත් එළියට ආවා. දැන් යන්න යන්න මේකට බලමු මේක මොනවද තියෙන කියලා. මේක නිකන් නේටිව් ඇමරිකන්ස්ලා ගැන තියෙනවා. කට්ටියගේ items තියෙනවා. Words. මේකෙන් ඇමරිකන් හිස්ටරි වගේ සීන් එකක් තියෙන්නේ. French Imperium, Pirates, සිරාතු ඔක්කොක්. මේක මියුසියම් එක. ප්ලග් එකක් තියෙනවා ෆෝන් එකේ charge නැහැ. බලාගෙන යන්න තියෙන්නේ. Kennedy Space Center. Fire management. Third topography. Specialty review. මෙන්න මේ කුරුල්ලා තමයි ඇමරිකන් ෆ්ලැග් එකේ ඉන්නේ. බෝල්ඩ් එක. මු තමයි ඇමරිකන් ෆ්ලැග් එකේ ඉන්නේ. පෝස්ටර් ටිකක් විතරයි. මේක වටේ දෙනවා පොඩි කැලයක්. ඒ කැලයට රිලේටඩ් ඒ වගේ ඇනිමල් ප්‍රොසෙස්. මෙච්චර තමයි මේකේ තුල චුට්ටි එකක්. සෙනග හින්දා ආයෙත් මේකට ආවා. ඊට පස්සේ මෙන්න මේ රයිඩ් එක යන්න කියලා බලමු මොනවද මේක තියෙන්නේ කියලා. පොලිම මේකේ මෙතන ඉස්සරහ තියෙන ලොකු ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ පුටු මූව් වෙන ගමන් පොඩි රයිඩ් එකක් තියෙන එක වීඩියෝ කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ ඇත්තටම. මෙන්න මේ බිල්ඩින් එක ඇතුළට යන්න. මේක බිල්ඩින් එකක් ජෙට් එක නෙමෙයි. බලමු ගිහිල්ලා. බුදු අම්මෝ සෙනග ඇතුළට ගිහිල්ලා බලමු. අතන ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන් වගේක් තියෙනවා. ඒක ඉවර වෙලා මෙන්න මේක තමයි පෙන්නන්නේ. ඇට්ලැන්ටිස්. මෙතන තව මොකක්ද හබල් නේද? මොකද්ද දන්නේ බලමු ගිහිල්ලා. අම්මා මේකේ සයිස් එක යකෝ මේ බලපුවා සයිස් එක තේරෙන්නේ This is for kids. ආයෙ මාව මේ පැත්තට බලමු. එතන හබල් තියෙනවා හබල් වගේ එකක් මොකක්ද දන්නේ බලමු. Magnificent. Oh yes, this is Hubble. Hubble, මං හිතනවා ආකෘතියක් ගන්න ඕනේ. Look at this beautiful views. Damn. Now I am going to go out. පල්ලෙහිද උඩහට ආවද? පල්ලෙහිද උඩහට ආවද අපෝ? ඈ?
මෙතන තියෙන්නේ රොකට් එක ලොන්ච් කරනකොට කොක්පිට් එකේ ඉඳලා අපිව සිමියුලේටර් එකකට වගේ දාලා නිකන් අර පොඩ්ඩක් හෙල්ලෙන එක වයිබ්‍රේට් කරලා හැම පෙන්නනවා. ඊට කලින් පොඩි බ්‍රීෆ් එකක් දෙනවා මේ මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ අරකයි මේකයි කියලා.
That's where the solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, come in. These guys were the most powerful solid fuel rocket engines ever flown. The SRBs ignite when the countdown gets to 0. And believe me, you'll know it. Once you fire the SRBs, you can't turn them off. So you're going somewhere. You better just focus up. Now, here's how all that's going to happen to you in real time. 10 seconds to start. 7, 6, 5. Once you pass through max Q, we throttle the engines back up. This was at this moment that we lost the Challenger in 1986. So this is always a thoughtful moment in any mission. About 2 minutes into your flight, all the fuel is spent in your SRBs. So you'll jettison them and they'll parachute down into the ocean. These guys were designed to get clean, refurbished, and then used again on another mission. Your ride will get a little less bumpy once your SRBs drop off. But you're still going to keep accelerating. So that's where your a few moments later, your ET will expend all its fuel, and you can go for main engine cutoff, or MECO. Then you'll jettison the tank. We call that ET set. The tank will break up in the atmosphere on the way back down. It's the only part of the shuttle system that wasn't designed for reuse. Congratulations, you made it into orbit. That's assuming, of course, there were no malfunctions along the way. Naturally, we have hundreds of contingency plans in case something does go wrong. Take a moment to memorize these now. Got it all? Good. Our time here is up. You ready? Because now you have to take your chances in the sim and hope the sim supervisor goes easy on you. Now it's time for you to experience the sensations of launch firsthand from inside the shuttle. See you aboard.
ඊළඟ තියෙන සිරා සිමුලේෂන් එක. දැන් නැද්ද?
ඉස්සර මේකේ කාටයි ඉන්න පුළුවන්. ඉස්සර ගොඩක් දාන්නේ නැහැ. ඉස්සර ඕනම මිස් දාන්නේ නැහැ. මේ කොටු ගන්න විතර ඉස්සර මිස් දාන්නේ නැහැ.
එහෙමද?
මිස් වැඩිින් නැද්ද?
අනේ මන්ද?
When you walk through the door, please walk through slowly. Go either direction. Please stay together with your friends and family. Please do not bunch up. You are being counted. Everyone will get inside a simulator. Make sure you stay with your friends and families. We are running 3 separate simulators. Come through the doors slowly. Thank you.
Need to stand on a red dot.
Oh, they're over there.
මෙන්න මේ වගේ එකක් දාලා සිමියුලේට් කරලා තියෙනවා.
Tell a member of our training staff you want to observe rather than launch, and they'll escort you to the observation room where you can watch the same launch experience.
Ça te montrer les mouvements aux enfants?
The rest of you, listen up. Right now, you need to be standing on a dock. Otherwise, you may not get a seat. You know the drill. When the doors open, stay in your row and move all the way across, filling every available seat.
Ça va pencher beaucoup par en avant, là.
Fog, a foreign object could be damaged. Any object gets loose within the module during launch. It has the potential to fall and damage you, your crewmates, and the spacecraft. By now, you should have safely stored your launch personal items in one of the lockers provided at the entrance to this facility. But if you're carrying anything larger than this, you must raise your hand and show the item to the strap-in crew now. Shirt pockets are particularly important. Anything that's not secured can become a hazard during launch. Also, you would never see it, so still, the last thing is your seatbelt. Put it on your right, fasten it on your left, and get ready. I'll be in contact with you all the way, explaining what's happening. Of course, if anything goes wrong, don't worry about it.
Maxime, on va t'enlever ta
I'll be
casquette.
safe in simulation control. Enjoy your flight.
Maxime? Maxime, qu'est-ce que je viens de te dire? Ton signe de sécurité, puis t'enlèves ta casquette.
International Space Station. ආගෙන ඉන්න එකෙක් දීවියෙක් ඉන්නවා මෙයා. මෙතනින් බලනකොට හබල් එක ලස්සනට තියෙනවා. gift shop එකකින් තමයි ඉවර වෙන්නේ.
මෙතන ඉවරයි guys. See you in next video.